Hello and welcome to the first in our series of debates for the 2023 municipal elections. FLAP TV, with the generous assistance of FATV, will be hosting debates for all contested races in Fitchburg and Leominster. This evening's debate features the four candidates vying for the office of Mayor of Fitchburg. On September 26th, two of these candidates will be eliminated from the race, while the top two vote-getters will move on to face each other in the general election on November 7th. The candidates are Stanley Young, retired police officer, Fitchburg; Stephen DiNatale, incumbent mayor of Fitchburg; Maritza, incumbent school committee member in Fitchburg; and Samantha Squailia, incumbent city councilor at large. Let's get right to it. When we put the call out to the public for questions that they wanted us to ask in this debate, overwhelmingly, the questions that came back to us were centered around the city's road conditions, which clearly remain a top priority for city voters. So right out of the gate, we are going to ask that question. Simply put, what is your plan to address the city's roads? How much money will it cost to execute your plan? And where specifically will you get the money to pay for your plan? Mr. Young.
Well, paving roads has been a big issue with all the citizens I've been talking to. What my questions are is, why did we come up with money right away to pave the roads, like Industrial Road, Kimball Street, and part of North Street? My plan to pave the roads is going to be a couple-fold. Number one is I'm looking at my $37,000 raise, which I'm not going to take. I promised that to the citizens. That can be used towards roads. Also, there's $10,500 spent a year on a Code Red app for the fire department, which is not overutilized. It's hardly used. There's money there. Also, I'm looking at a slush fund with the police department of $58,000, which becomes to light because there's $108 for every towing, charged on every towing, but the police department gets the remainder of the 25%, $58,000. So that's three sources of revenue I'm looking at. I'm also going to try to lodge federal funds and state funds and be an advocate for pushing real hard with Boston. I heard rumors to the effect that the governor of the state just offered $200 million to anybody in the state that can prove they need the money for their roads to fix their roads. And I wonder, have we even applied for any of that money? That's my plan to fix the roads.
Mayor DiNatale.
My opponent, it baffles me that you think what you've cited, 50,000 here, 40,000 there, do you realize what the cost will be to fix the roads to the point where we'll all be satisfied? We're talking multi-millions of dollars. What we have done in this administration is we have taken the Chapter 90 funding, 1.1 million, which I might add has not been increased for 12 years. And that's a state issue. I've gone to the State House just about every year since I've been mayor to appeal to the individuals on Beacon Hill that we need more money in Chapter 90. Apparently that hasn't been met with any success, but we continue to make that effort. This administration has spent over $10 million, with money spent on DPW, capital needs, as well as street engineering. So we've used all the money that we can to do that. We've used Chapter 90 funding to make the repairs that you cited, Stan, and we'll continue to do that. But it's really not sufficient. But we'll keep working at it.
Dr. Knight.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kevin, for this opportunity for a very relevant question. That's one of the things that most of our constituents are very concerned about, how we are going to get the monies to repair the roads in Fitchburg. So I propose to utilize the expertise of a grant writer to apply for a number of grants, local, state, and federal agency. And also, I propose to partner with public and private companies or investors, which we would allow them to contribute the capital in exchange for certain benefits or revenues sharing arrangements. Also, I plan special assessments for property, special assessments for property owners who benefit directly from road repair. Doing as Mr. Young mentioned, that he mentioned industrial road. While they were working on industrial road, my campaign manager and I approached the person in charge of the project, and we were informed that it takes approximately $500,000 to repair about a half mile of road, which is the rule of thumb that we found online. Now, the information there was some resistance for me to find the exact amount of money that it will cost to repair the whole roads. But I also found out that there is a grant that we receive every year in Fitchburg of $1.3 million to repair the roads. And if it's true that it's approximately $500,000 to repair half a mile of road, so in a 2-year term, that means we can fix 2.5 miles of road only with grant money. The grant money, and I'm not talking about the Chapter 90 funds that we receive to pave the roads in Fitchburg. So those are things that I'm planning to look into. The federal government.
We'll get you, your 2 minutes are up, but we'll get back in the general discussion.
Thank you.
Councilor Squailia.
Thank you. It was approximately 5 years ago that our DPW commissioner suggested it was $75 million to repair all the roads, and with the current deficit that we see every year, that figure is approximately $100 million to bring all our roads up to medium grade. And so there are two components to fixing the roads: the funds and how we use those funds. As the current mayor has said, he has been advocating to the state for Chapter 90 fund increases. And in Chapter 90 funding in 2015, when he was first elected, it was $200 million. Today, in 2023, it is $200 million. So Chapter 90 funding has not been increased. And not only that, but the purchasing power of that $200 million has lost 40% of its value due to inflation. So for every dollar we spend on the roads, we're getting less road than we did 8 years ago. And the roads that we do pave, we get little advance notice of. Then we either neglect them, or we let them fall into disrepair, or we pave roads that must be ripped up and replaced, ripped up to replace underground pipes like we did with Kimball. So what can we do? We can begin to use the limited road paving funds that we get efficiently. Under my leadership, the city will develop and implement a pavement management plan. This will include a comprehensive list of road repair, road maintenance, and road paving projects. Fitchburg must streamline our road repair approach using engineering principles and provide transparency and long-term strategy. This will allow us to forecast the road pavement condition and perform cost-effective and timely road repair preventative maintenance. It's a fix it and maintain it first strategy. First, we don't let it fail.
Open up the floor for general discussion on the topic for 5 minutes. Mayor?
Councilor, so I'm not quite sure what you mean about paving the roads and what your proposal is. It's an affront to the engineering group within DPW, and you, being a member of the DPW committee, should know this, that we are doing what we can. There's no secret that there is a plan. We have a plan. I'm surprised you're not aware of that. It's obviously not to your standard.
Yes, well, so the pavement management plan is actually a set of engineering principles that we use to actually use strategies to repair the roads in a way that elongates the lifespan. I brought a chart so that I could explain. You see this red line? That's currently what we do. When we pave a road, it fails very quickly without preventative maintenance. So preventative maintenance strategies help elongate the lifespan of that road at very little cost compared to complete major road rehabilitation. So I've been advocating for this pavement management plan for all my terms as counselor. And when it was proposed to us counselors in 2019 to spend $60,000 on the street scan study, I specifically advocated, will we be able to use this street scan study for a pavement management plan? And the DPW told me, yes, we can use this and we can create algorithms to create a pavement management plan to most cost effectively maintain our roads. And yet, here we are 5 years later, no such plan exists. I've spoken with the DPW, and they like the idea of pavement management plan, and they like it to be public, because the public deserves
A
it.
chance here, she had her hand up.
Yes, well, the question that I was going to ask is, if you have this plan in place that you're talking about, how come it just came up now that you're running for mayor? As a school committee member, it didn't take me that long to figure out that my hands were tied and I couldn't do more than two things as an elected school committee member. Why did it take so long for this? You said you presented it and nothing happened. It's just now that this plan is coming to the surface. I'm just concerned because if we love Fitchburg, we want to make sure that we do everything in place to be able to take care of the things that our constituents are asking.
I completely agree, Dr. Knight,
Yeah.
and that's why I have been advocating for this pavement management plan ever since 2019 when we spent the $60,000 in the street scan study. I was told we would have this plan in place, and then 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023 went by, and we have never even seen the results of the street scan study. Us counselors have never been given that access to that information.
It's not about street scan. It's about money. It's not about a plan. Stop feeding that to the public, because that's not the fact. That's not a fact.
The
It's the
city
money.
literally has a public plan for everything else except the roads. We have a plan for staffing, pension, schools,
We
trails.
have a
City
plan.
Hall even
You
had
just
a
don't
plan.
like it.
The fact is, the mayor claims he has a plan, but it keeps it secret to the public and secret to the city council, because he says if we were to let people know about the plan, that we would hold them accountable for not following it.
Let's give Mr. Young a chance.
Yes, everybody's arguing back and forth about plans, and we all have said we had plans, and I agree with the mayor. It's all about revenue. I failed to mention a couple other ideas of revenue. With those three issues of money, I figured that's around $90,000. We could purchase a resurface machine for about $20,000 to $90,000, pretend whatever model or make you pick. Okay, you would tear up the old surface, it would refabricate itself, melt it down, and a machine behind it would roll it out. Okay, that's very cost effective. It's a one-time expense, but it's our machine. We're going to constantly do it. Also, making 4x4 patches on the potholes. You mill it down to the size of the pothole, only 4x4. Okay, so that way it's even with the bad road, so they're not going over bumps constantly. And another source of revenue, has it been readdressed or be revisited? Years ago, we got rid of the ambulance service, okay? Talking to the fire department, every fireman there is an EMT. They can ride the ambulances, they can go on an ambulance. Why not look at purchasing our own ambulance again for like the cost of $310,000? We put our firemen on the ambulance, okay? We are only earning like about $10,000 a year from the ambulance service. It's costing us more than it is being utilized. Also, why not a pilot program with the college, okay? We can set up different pilot programs. What are they actually dedicating or giving monetary value to the city? I know they assist us in a lot of events and stuff, but monetarily, what are they actually giving to the city? And they haven't completed the theater behind the old theater, which was promised to us, okay? So I'm looking at different forms of revenue, and I think the machine, the resurface, recalibrating machine would be one way to handle the budget.
Mayor?
I don't know where you get that, Stan. I mean this machine. So our engineering folks, the
Right
DPW
there.
commissioner,
They're all over the internet, Steve.
he doesn't have any idea of this.
All he's got to do is check it out on the internet and talk
Okay.
to PJ Keating.
And it's
okay?
probably
I've been talking to PJ
It's because
Keating.
there's probably more to it.
There are
getting all the
certain
info.
effective strategies that we could use, like the cold-in-place recycling, that are more cost-effective, but maybe it's not a municipal-owned thing.
Issue 2. As we see the devastation in our neighboring city of neighboring city of Leominster with the recent flooding, and Governor Healy visiting to tour the damage with city leaders, we are reminded that the job of mayor goes beyond budgets and meetings. It's about leadership. If an emergency were to occur on your watch in Fitchburg, what methods and tools of communication to residents will you utilize? And how will you leverage your own experience and relationships with state and federal leaders and agencies to get us help? Mayor DiNatale.
We experienced that back in July. We were hit pretty hard. Hopefully, I should say thankfully, it was in a small area of the city. The work that needed to be done was significant. What I did was I amassed my group, the DPW commissioner, the fire chief, the police chief, the emergency management individual on the fire department, and we toured the devastation, the damage that was done. We communicated this over 4 consecutive days on the city website, city Facebook page, along with the mayor's page. So we communicated that way. What we also did, was to bring in the lieutenant governor. She toured the damage as well. And again, what's very important to people at home, if you're watching, is relationships and how important they are to the city of Fitchburg, to any municipality. So we take good advantage of that, because I've been in public service for a number of years, and I've made those relationships, and I make sure that they work for the city of Fitchburg.
Dr. Knight.
Thank you so much once again, Kevin, for this opportunity. As mayor of Fitchburg, one of the things that I would always do is try to utilize my transformational leadership skills to be able to inspire and motivate everyone to work beyond their potentials. Now, I'm not a politician, but I am a people person here in the city of Fitchburg. And one of the things that I would do is I would be using strategic communication with every person that I encounter, including Governor Healy. I would also rely on the expertise of experts in the subject, so that they can give us the right information to be able to make the proper decisions, to be able to avoid these problems. In other words, get to the root cause of these problems and try to work in a preventative manner, so that when these things happen, we are prepared and we are able to handle everything that is taking place. In addition to that, I would always make sure that the decisions that my administration makes will be always evidence-based to solve every one of the problems that we face. And that includes taking care of the needs of the community members that were affected in the case of floods, like in our neighbor city, Leominster, so that the people in our community, our constituents, may be taken care of. Thank you so much.
Councilor Squailia.
Thank you. Yes, so the natural disaster we saw in Leominster, this is a timely question. What do we want from our leaders during times of natural disasters? We want preparation, accessibility, outreach, and timely communication. Mayor Mazzarella in Leominster showed us what that is last night. He uses social media personally to inform his residents of what is happening in the city in real time. What roads are closed, what communication he's receiving from the DPW, the police, and the fire, what he is discussing with state leaders for emergency assistance and relief. And residents are not left worrying what is happening, because their mayor is communicating with residents in real time. During last night's storm, I heard appreciation from multiple residents how Leominster's mayor was able to help them with information and assistance, and I heard multiple concerns expressed. Where is our mayor? Let's talk about COVID, natural disaster. During the first days of the COVID situation, residents were reaching out to me, asking me what is happening with COVID, how is it spread, where can they get masks, what businesses are closed, We had no communication from our current mayor for days. So I did live video updates like the mayor of Leominster did for the community and informed them of everything that I knew, answering their questions and addressing their concerns. When the current mayor finally did respond, it was through a few scripted TV studio updates. The current mayor was simply checked out then, and he's been checked out for subsequent disasters as well. The July 16th storm, while I had been responding publicly to disaster reports and concerns all morning, the current mayor didn't address the residents till later that afternoon. Fitchburg deserves a mayor with energy and commitment to be out there shoulder to shoulder with our community addressing concerns. Thank you.
Mr. Young, experience, relationships, communication in a crisis.
Okay, my experience in a crisis is probably much greater than anybody on this podium. I spent 30 years as a police officer responding to critical incidents, setting up critical incidents teams. Also, 4 years in the Air Force, I was in security police. In 1975, we had a very critical incident. A terrorist was supposed to bomb one of our aircraft. I was the sergeant in charge of the scene with 43 personnel. I had to make the big decisions on that day, and we ended up apprehending that so-called terrorist. But also, I agree with Sam and others on the podium here. The Code Red, which I mentioned earlier, we have that availability. It's an application, a free download app to people's phones. I knew nothing about it until I got involved with this campaign process. People still aren't aware about it. It should be enacted, it should be publicized, it should be sent out in newspaper, flyers to the home. We need to get on that Code Red system. But along with that, I also plan on setting up a website for daily and monthly uses. People can be updated in progress of our budget or daily events with the city. They can just go online and get to City Hall and see what's going on. And maybe we would put on there upcoming events, or if we had a bad storm, what to do, where to go. My neighbors as well had no clue what to do. Well, they were scared. What's going on? Where do we go? I says, you know as much as me. So I would implement the Code Red, and also, like I said, I've got experience with critical incidents. I would not panic. I would work with the police department and fire department. I know how to work with them. Thank you.
Stan, have you reached out to the chief, the fire chief,
Yes,
to
I
talk
have.
about Code Red? And
Yes, I
did he
have.
explain to you
He explained to
why
us.
they use it judiciously? They don't.
He said
He
it's
did.
very underused, is
Yeah.
what he told us.
He did.
They,
Okay.
they use it only in geographical areas of,
Right.
of a current
Right.
event,
Yeah.
which it doesn't expand
Yeah.
out to large areas like where I lived in Arlington Street. I had no clue what was going on during that Hobson Street storm, okay? I want to expand it to a larger area. Cost effective, or how much it costs. Citizens have a right to know when there's danger things going on.
Okay, we're in the general discussion portion, so.
Yes, I mentioned strategic communication, and when I talk about that is, not only we put information forth for the community to hear and know what's going on, but also we need to have listening ears and sit down and listen to the concerns of our constituents to be able to better meet their needs. And I really believe and agree with Mr. Young, because sometimes I don't know that things are going on in the city, unless I get out there and walk around, because the information is not put forth. Things are kept secret, or kept, I don't know, sometimes I feel like it's like there is an intention for me not to know certain things so that I would not show up and be there. So I agree with the fact that we need to have, better mode of communication. There's a lot of social media out there that we can use so that our constituents can know what's going on, and we can have sit down and be able to, to collaborate and find out exactly what's going on, and so that we can take better approaches to these things. Listen, I am not a politician. I am a lifelong learner, and the same way how I learned English as my second language, and I'm here today, I can learn anything that's taking place in the city and be able to put forth plans to be able to better address the needs of our constituents here in the city of Fitchburg, which I love very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Knight, and thank you, Mr. Young, for your service, and thank you for bringing up the Code Red, because I had the same concern a few years ago. We spend, this $20,000 in this Code Red system every year, and it's underutilized. I said, there are situations where the Code Red could be used to inform me of certain events, certain natural disasters, certain important events. but it is not utilized. Now, I brought this up to the fire chief, I brought it up to the water department, and the water department had concerns that they would like to be able to use it if they need to, strategically, and the fire department had that same concern. And so I did not propose to cut this. However, it still has not been utilized efficiently or well at all as far as I'm concerned. We could utilize Code Red better, and that doesn't mean that we're overutilizing Code Red, but we could just use it a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyone else? No? Moving on. While housing costs have skyrocketed nationwide, here in Fitchburg, in the past 5 years, rents have increased at a rate nearly 30% more than the national average. Between rent prices, DiNatale, and other inflationary costs over the past few years, many in the city are struggling to make ends meet. Is there anything the city can do to enact policies and/or initiatives to address the rapidly increasing cost of housing in our community? Dr. Knight.
Thank you once again, Kevin, for the opportunity. Now, the city of Fitchburg is one of the, I believe, one of the most inexpensive cities to live in here in Massachusetts. But even with that, it is still hard for low-end paid jobs and most impoverished residents to be able to keep up with what's going on. So one of the things that my administration is proposing is to continue partnership with the Director of Community Organization of Newview, who is dedicated to developing affordable housing in the city, giving preference to artists, which is a wonderful thing because we are the city of Fitchburg is a city that historically is very big with arts. Additionally, my team will collaborate with experts in the field once again to offer incentives such as tax breaks for owners to convert unused buildings into affordable apartment buildings. The plan that I'm proposing is similar to the one proposed by Mayor Michelle Wu out there in Boston, and this approach would also revitalize our beloved city of Fitchburg, which has become an abandoned and dying city with excessive abandoned building. So everything that needs to be done, you know, I would sit down once again with experts in the field to be able to get the best solution, and then sit down and collaborate not only with them but also with city council members and knowledgeable community leaders to be able to come up with the best solution of the housing system here in the city of Fitchburg. Thank you once again, Kevin.
Councilor Squailia.
Thank you. I agree. Fitchburg had a lower cost of living pre-COVID, but the Fitchburg cost of living has increased a lot higher than other communities of similar demographics in the state of Massachusetts. And affordability of housing is a common concern that I hear from residents. I just got a phone call saying, Sam, my building sold and I'm being evicted for renovations. I have a month to move. I pay $600 a month rent now, and when they renovate, they're gonna charge $2,600 a month. What can I do? I have no support and I can't afford to move. So what can we do to fix this? It's a supply and demand problem. The demand for housing is higher than the existing supply. So the city of Fitchburg needs to work with the state in order to build more housing. Our administration can improve upon this and do it better. Working with Newview Communities and Habitat for Humanity on home ownership programs that assist families on purchasing homes, help facilitate and provide tax breaks, tax credits, and grants using development initiatives like the HDIP and the TIFs. We can develop public-private partnerships and continue those with private developers, nonprofit organizations, and financial institutions to develop housing. We can work with the Fitchburg Housing Authority to acquire and rehabilitate more affordable housing. We can encourage mixed income, affordable housing units together, streamline the permitting process for housing projects to reduce construction costs and delays, and we can revisit our zoning regulations to ensure that development is working according to our best laid plans. It's going to take a variety of strategies to address the complex problem of affordable living here in Fitchburg, but one that I will address as mayor to help ensure residents access to safe, stable, and affordable housing.
Thank you. Mr. Young.
Yes, thank you for this question. obviously I'm the least politically experienced here, but I've been delving into a lot of information, and my wife was also a manager of an apartment complex in Leominster. She dealt with New View, Homes for Habitat, and other organizations. She's been leading me around the right path for a lot of them. But my first suggestion is I probably want to ask the mayor this question after. I understand we have like 260 vacant buildings in this city that are just sitting dormant. Why can't we accompany with whatever we have to do for financial funds from the banks, or start refabbing some of these buildings? Maybe we can move some people into these buildings, like Sam brought up Fitchburg Housing, okay? We do have some Fitchburg Housing buildings, and I know people were placed in them, but I'm looking at all these empty buildings that are just sitting there. Why not try to refab them? Let's start making some housing for people. And I also agree with Sam on the landlord situation. I also worked as a constable for 7 years. I'm well aware of eviction process and that. It's not that quick that when they call you and say they're getting me out, they have to go through a process which takes a period of time. But it is a panic, okay? We have a lot of absentee landlords in this city. And I think we need to start addressing those absentee landlords and being more severe with them, putting our hands on them more so than we are. There's a lot of zoning, there's a lot of permitting problems. I talk to businesses, I talk to tenement owners, and they say the city is so hard and severe with them, they have problems getting by a lot of the hurdles, so it creates more expenses for them, which they pass on to the tenants. I'd like to ease up on some of the codes. I believe that codes, we do need codes, but we need to ease back a little bit if we want to all work together and create a city that we can all live in and afford. Because even myself right now, the taxes, I'm on fixed income, and the taxes, I go, whoa, every year, okay? And where are the services? The roads are bad, the street lights go out, and I've had a street light out for 2 years. They don't get fixed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Young. Mayor DiNatale.
The state of the city's housing market remains very strong, with a $500 million increase in value last year. We currently stand at over $4.4 billion in value, the highest value in the city's history, surpassing last year's mark by over 12.5%, Since 2016, our value has doubled. Fitchburg continues to be one of the most affordable and vibrant places to live in the area, and our housing market is proof of that. Both young families and investors alike have taken notice. Real estate prices continued to climb last year, while we remain one of the lowest taxed cities or towns in the region. Our housing stock has continued to grow at a controlled rate, and several new apartment complexes opening to new tenants as I speak. The city has also continued to see major investments in the commercial sector as well, with large investment from companies like Game On, Amazon, and Great Wolf Lodge leading the way. We right now have between 300 and 500 units in the city that are being constructed or already have been constructed. Fitchburg Arts Community, Morin Square Apartments, future construction, Ivor Johnson and Santander Flatiron Building, across from Central Fire Station, that lot, across from the library, that's going to be developed. Technical assistance, we also provide technical assistance to the owners and developers, and the $10,000 Senator Cronin appropriation to convert empty office space to housing. So this is some of the major investments that we've been enjoying here in the city of Fitchburg. So to think that everything is doom and gloom is just simply not true.
Open it up for general discussion. Dr. Knight?
Yes. Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, you mentioned in your address that the Game On organization, has been, doing different things. Now, my question is, when they build their facility out there, they destroyed the road above Industrial Park where tax-paying citizens live, work very hard to keep up with what's going on in society. And then when the road was repaved a couple months ago, they never did fix the holes that that they left there, the uneven pavement. Who is watching over that from your
I'm
office?
not sure what you're talking about.
Yes,
Where's the road?
I'm talking the road going towards after Industrial Road,
Yeah.
the road that goes towards Game On. They
Yeah.
they destroy the roads there to build their facility, and they never did fix it. And the taxpaying residents in that community are very distressed because they have to drive down the
You
road
live in that
and these
neighborhood,
broken
do you
roads. Well, we don't want the whole world to know where I live, but
Yeah.
the roads are never fixed and nobody addressed that. Who's responsible for these things? Because the taxes is very high. Residents are very distressed because of this, Mr. Mayor.
I actually
with
had a
all due respect.
conversation with the DPW commissioner about this road, and yes, the contractor that installed it incorrectly, and the DPW is going to have to go back and repair it because it's been
But
too long.
if we could keep it on the subject of cost of housing, cost of rent, what we're going to do for people struggling with cost of living.
Sure. Well, so the current mayor, he said that we have the highest value housing since 2016. That's because housing prices have literally doubled since 2016. So that just sounds like political spin to me. Also, residents paying lower taxes, that's actually not true. Because when the mayor was first elected in FY 2016, the average tax bill was $3,337. And today in FY 2023, the average tax bill is $4,714. So we're not paying lower taxes. In fact, we're paying as residential property base, residential property owners. When the current mayor was first elected in FY 2016, residential property owners were paying 73% of the tax base in the city of Fitchburg. And here today, FY 23, residential property owners now pay 79% of the tax levy. The average tax bill, $1,377 a year higher.
And you voted for that
I voted
as a member of the council.
Actually, I voted against the tax shift because
did.
it was an astronomically high and aggressive tax shift.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
Did you propose anything differently?
Did I propose anything
Yeah.
differently
Yeah.
than an aggressive tax shift? Yes.
Yeah.
I proposed that we did not. Raise it so quickly. Absolutely.
Fitchburg.
You can go back and look at the. You can go back and look at the
Oh, I
meeting.
know.
You'll
I
see it.
have.
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Okay, well, we're still talking about housing. The mayor touts himself for all the new apartment complexes, new apartment buildings. Those prices, from what I understand, are not that attainable for a normal income person, a person that's making only $37,000 a year on Social Security. And the cost of living in a house now is much more because we pay 16.02 per thousand, the highest in the region per thousand for taxes. So to say that we're the lowest rate, we're not the lowest rate in the area. Also, you're touting all that stuff that's on Main Street, but what about the rest of the city that's not being addressed? Okay, the housing in the rest of the city. Everybody can't live on Main Street. Everybody can't afford to live on Main Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young. These housing projects that are being touted, these are multi-decade housing projects. For example, the Harper Furniture Moran Square housing, that was started under Mayor Wong in 2006, and it took 17 years from fruition. And you can see Riverside Commons started under Mayor Wong in 2009,
That's not
ended
true.
under Mayor Wong.
That's not
It took
true.
14 years.
That's not
You
true.
can go back and look
That's
at the
not
dates.
true.
That is absolutely true.
Reeves Larkin-
We have all the facts available.
Larkin developed that
The
project
Fitchburg Arts
5 years
community,
ago.
The Fitchburg
5
Arts
years
community
ago.
started in 2010 under Mayor Wong,
not true.
and that took 14 years.
Yeah.
Fitchburg Yarnworks was completed in 2016, and that was worked on for decades. So these large-scale housing projects are important, but they're not the end-all, be-all. They take multi-decades to come to fruition.
And wasn't that supposed to be part of the 10-year plan, which hasn't completed?
What 10-year plan are
The
you
10-year
talking
plan that you put forth many years
about?
ago.
Okay.
That was part of your plan, to complete all these projects, but they're not
well,
completed.
Well, most of them are.
Most of them, but that's not all of them.
Well, okay. Stan, when you're the mayor, you can see how easy it is to make that happen.
Well,
okay.
I plan on
Okay,
checking
good.
and see what I have to do.
Yeah.
From a standpoint of ideology, the Attorney General, Andrea Campbell, just this week approved language, certified language, which would allow a question to be put on the ballot to repeal the ban on rent control and allow cities and towns to enact rent control laws. So as a matter of ideology, and I'm going to open this up to anyone, do you believe it is appropriate role of government to regulate private landlords on what they can charge or put a cap on what they can charge for rents.
I have concerns about rent control as a whole, but I would like to see it. But I believe it's going to the ballot, to the voters, and so we will see what the will of the voters is.
Anyone else?
I agree with Sam, some concerns about rent control, but you can probably monitor how much they're raising these rents. Because from what I understand from some citizens, they're going from like $1,000 a month to $2,600 a month overnight because they have to renovate their building, and we have to charge you that much more money because of the renovation cost without any warning, advanced warning. It's like immediate. So yeah, should there be some control on rents? Probably not severe control, but you need to moderate and check out what they're doing with the rent.
Yes, I believe that there should be someone watching over what's going on. Because if no one is keeping track of what's going on, then landlords could be abusive and overcharge the residents of Fitchburg. And we know that we're living in a city with over approximately 60% of people that are living in poverty that would not be able to keep up with that type of abuse. So I believe that there should be some department in place watching over what's going on and putting a cap so that it would not go up too high and be out of hand. Did
you have anything to say on this? I'm going to go on to my next sub-question.
Good.
My next sub-question on cost of housing is people just don't rent here, they also own. I've had a couple of senior citizens send me questions on email to ask of you tonight that with the rising property values and rising tax bills, we have seniors on fixed incomes. Is there anything that you believe can be done to give some relief to senior citizens on their property tax bills? Put that out to anyone.
I worked before, if that's okay. I worked before for a company called Senior Whole Health, and what we did is we provide supplemental benefits to seniors because the income that they were receiving was not enough to be able to live on a day-to-day basis. After COVID-19, things got even worse. And when addressing, I deal a lot with the seniors. When addressing them, they complain about the fact that the monies that they're receiving right now is not enough. There need to be more benefits for our senior citizens so that they can be able to meet the cost of living and be able to live day by day and be able to enjoy, because they were the ones that worked very hard to build city to build Fitchburg to what it is. So they deserve as citizens to be able to afford better, take care of themselves and be able to enjoy their life now that they're senior citizen as retired residents of Fitchburg. Thank you.
Certainly that's a concern that I share. However, the elderly population in this city has an opportunity for abatements and things of that nature. So what I would encourage them to do is seek out the assessor's office and see if there's some kind of relief that can be given for them.
Mr. Alden, let's give this young a shot.
Sure.
That's news to me about the abatement. I guess this goes back to communications. But why do they have to seek out abatements? Why can't we lower the tax rate on a person, say 65 years of age and older, that are on fixed incomes? You have to be certain qualifications. Okay, I know you're probably going to say it's a hard thing to figure out with everybody in the city, but you have them register, okay? Then you would know your population. You would know your population of the way their ages and the houses that they purchase, okay? And you would charge a tax rate accordingly to their ages. Well, I think it's fair. They've spent their whole life spending money, and why not give them a little break at the end of their life, okay? Like I said, I'm on fixed income. My money doesn't go up that much every year, and that's what I have to live with. I'm in better sneakers than a lot of the people over 65, but I've talked to a lot of citizens that I bring it up again, that $37,000 raise, they're not making that in Social Security a year. We need to give them some kind of break. And if it's tax break on their housing, let's do it.
Yeah, when I hear from residents, the number one concern is fix the roads. The number two concern is my taxes keep going up, but my Social Security is not. So it's absolutely a concern. The tax abatement, that's a state program that we opt into here in the city of Fitchburg. I believe it's like $250 or $500 a year that you can apply for as a senior for an abatement. And there's also one for, I think, veterans and widows. So that's like a state law that we allow. There's also another program that Fitchburg has not opted into, which is called the Senior Tax Work-Off Program. I believe the state upped the cap from $1,500 to $2,000 a year, which would allow seniors to volunteer in the community, work for minimum wage, and that minimum wage gets applied to their tax bill. So not only would this allow us to have more volunteers in the community to help us do the things we can't afford to do, but it would also engage our senior citizens, and it would save them money on their property tax bill. I like this approach.
I
Stan,
just wanted to add.
you're
Oh, sorry.
talking about cutting taxes.
Yes.
How would you do that?
Well, like I just demonstrated, or I just told you, you would have people register, okay? You put the information out there. I qualify, I'm over 65 years of age, or whatever age you put it at, and then you register with the city. I would like a decrease on my taxes yearly because I qualify, okay? You're making X amount of dollars, your geographical area, your housing, but they would register with the city, and you have a big format of the qualifications, and then you would just simply make a decision on how much you're going to relieve them on their taxes based on what they told you on their registration.
And how do we make up that loss of revenue? The tax
See,
revenue?
it all comes back to loss of revenue. That's why I said we have an
Wow.
ambulance we can purchase.
Wow.
Okay? I agree with Sam. In the summertime, if we purchase that repaving, recycling machine, I know we need more DPW guys. Why not hire some summer help, okay? Because we do most of the paving on our streets in the summertime. You hire some summer help. They only work X amount of hours. They don't get the benefits. They don't get the retirement. They don't get the pension. But we could get our streets done by doing that. And that would help with the revenue because people are spending money on their vehicles being damaged as well as paying their high cost taxes. So I suggest that let's look at giving the 65 and older a break on their taxes, because like Sam said, I've been witnessing it every door I knock on. Number one is the roads, by far. But senior citizens, what are you going to do to relieve my taxes? I talked to a woman last week that's paying $1,000 more a month because she has a 3 tenement, but only her lives in the building. She doesn't want to rent. So what do you do with that lady, okay?
Most of what I was going to say was addressed, but I just wanted to say also that my administration will be looking at the benefits that are provided to senior citizens in the nation's capital in comparison to what is done here in Fitchburg. I had a friend that wanted to move over here, retired 65 and older, and wasn't able to do so because the benefits that are provided here for our seniors is far less than what she's receiving over there in the nation's capital. Thank you.
Thank you. Downtown has seen some significant changes in the past few years with traffic flow changes and significant investments of both private and taxpayer dollars. Is downtown Fitchburg headed in the right direction? If you believe it is, what would be your plan to continue that forward movement? And if you believe downtown is not headed in the right direction, what would you have done and will do differently? Councilor Squailia.
Is downtown headed in the right direction? I believe yes. I think we've seen significant investment in the downtown by the City of Fitchburg initiatives. The two-way Main and Boulder project, which was largely paid for by state grant programs, which we very much appreciate. I had concerns over the implementation of this. I had concerns over the timing and the focus of this, but it's actually worked out very well. I like the two-way Main. I think it's going to. I think it's really going to help with our downtown traffic movement. There are some things we need to fix with the current two-way Main proposal, but you know, I really like that. I really like how it's working in the downtown. But the real problem with our Main Street investment is the existing vacant building stock. So we have a lot of old buildings on Main Street that are not cost effective to rehabilitate. It's, you know, if the building is worth $500,000, someone takes out a loan for $500,000, the cost to rehabilitate that building might be $2 million, $3 million. So it's hard to find a bank loan for this. So it's going to take, you know, a lot of city, public, private partnership state grants, and these kinds of things are like the large housing projects. They take multi-decades. That's just what we've seen. So, will we see continued investment on Main Street? I think we will. And I think it'll be a positive for the city of Fitchburg because, according to studies, it's where the best bang for our buck is. However, I would like to see us expand our focus only on Main Street and really focus out to the neighborhoods outside of Main Street, because I feel like we have been putting all our energy into Main Street, whereas we need to start looking outside.
Mr. Young.
I agree wholeheartedly with you, and that's why I had mentioned earlier, a lot of the focus is on Main Street, primarily up around City Hall. You've got all kinds of restaurants in the City Hall area. But Midtown, myself and my committee, we've walked Main Street several times, and we feel bad that some of these buildings aren't being utilized. Seems like a business goes in, the mayor touts his ability to bring in businesses, and then it's gone. But he don't count whenever a business leaves. He just counts when they come in. So I also agree with Sam that we've got to start looking at the outside, okay? That's what I've been hearing every door I knock on. Why are they just working on one section of Main Street and never doing anything for us on the outskirts of the city? I have problems. You've probably seen our Facebook site. We have numerous problems in the streets. What do you call it? The manhole covers are sinking into the ground. Cracks in the road that I've tripped over myself a few times. They're public safety issues that need to be addressed. And hopefully the DPW is picking up on our pictures and probably addressing those. I don't think there's enough tackling being done to the streets in the resident neighborhoods. Downtown has been repaved a few times. Boulder Drive's been repaved a few times. It's nice to come through a city where the streets look great, look good. But when they ride through that good street, they're looking at empty buildings. And I agree with Sam on the two-way. As a former police officer, I have some issues on some intersections. I'm sure the police department has talked about them as well. But I have been a victim to going up Main Street when a fire truck's trying to get through and cars are parked on both sides, on one side, and this car's coming the other direction. I have nowhere to go. Well, if you're a fire truck getting to an emergency, sometimes seconds count. So I agree, there needs to be set down and probably make some better planning on certain parts of the street. How can we reroute traffic a better way? Or intersections, maybe there needs to be some lights at certain intersections. Okay, thank you. Mayor DiNatale?
I think what we've done on Main Street is chip away at that vacancy rate that everyone's talking about. And that is clear to us that we need to do that. And we will continue to do that. The challenge is, as mentioned earlier, that the age of some of these buildings, we're making an effort to replace water mains in the street, which checks a box for a developer or a prospective individual coming into that building where they don't need to upgrade their sprinkler system by doing that. It saves them a lot of money. So we're trying those kinds of efforts. We also have facade programs, things of that nature. So our CDBG money is used to help these people, to bring them into the city and help them to develop their proposal. So I think we're going to continue that.
Dr. Knight.
Thank you so much, Kevin, once again. I do believe that it is a good idea to revitalize the downtown area. However, there's something that is called a false balance. So we cannot put all the money into just the downtown area and forget about where other residents live, such as right off Kimball Road, down in the Daniel Road area, out in the Claiborne area, where there is practically nothing spent out there, and the neighborhood is just so run down. And there are humans also that are living out there with children, and the conditions that that part of the city is in is not right. It's not right, and that's why I am glad to put my name in, as a candidate for mayor, to be able to make things better for all the residents here in the city of Fitchburg. Now, about the two-way roads. it's been going back and forth. Sometimes it's one way, then the next thing you know, that it costs money to to not have a plan and know exactly what we want to do, and then going back and forth, changing it. And then what happened is some of the business owners, they are complaining because there is no parking for the clients that are coming into the restaurants, because that's what we're bringing in a lot of restaurants in the downtown area, but there's not enough parking for them. So again, there is something that is called a balance. We need to be able to balance things better, and remember that Fitchburg is not just the people that live in the downtown area or the people that are supporters of the government, but the city of Fitchburg is a city for all, and we all should be able to enjoy living in a better city, a city that is booming like it once was. I remember when we had things like Woolworth, and General Electric and all these different companies. Thank you. Well, my time.
Open discussion on the issue of downtown Fitchburg. Plans?
I believe that the parking problem that exists in downtown is really more of a parking perception problem. We actually have a lot of available parking downtown. We have 2 parking garages, 2 that are covered, 1 that with 2-hour free parking as well. We have lots of parking on Main Street, a little bit less than we used to, but really not significant drop. We also have parking all along the side streets. So really, if I want to visit a restaurant or a business downtown, I do not have to actually walk very far, because the availability of parking is actually quite prevalent.
But if it's raining or snowing, then that's a problem.
Well, you're not going to get, everyone wants to open their door and walk into the building. That's not always possible, obviously.
Yes,
and the changing in the directions, I'm not sure where that's coming from. What Main Street and Boulder?
At a certain point, it was just one way down, then it changed to 2 way.
Well, yeah, we changed.
Yes.
We changed to what you're seeing today.
Yeah, but it just seemed like it was going back and forth.
I just have a question on these buildings that are going in downtown, pretty much all close to Main Street, City Hall. Are we looking at any less expensive ventures for like family restaurants? I mean, I've been to a couple of these places, and I can only afford it maybe one time. I grant you there's some nice restaurants, but they seem costly for like a family of like 4 kids and a mother and father trying to bring their family out to a restaurant. Has there been any discussion of bringing some different venues other than the high-cost restaurants?
Well, I'm not sure that I would refer to them as high cost, but they are, relatively fine dining, that kind of thing, and we think that's wonderful, to bring those kinds of business downtown. Families, you've got Rise and Grind. That's not overly expensive.
Well,
I mean, if
I've been there myself,
yeah,
and I think it's
yeah.
kind of costly, the drinks, myself.
Okay, well.
The city of Fitchburg doesn't really have the control over what the restaurants that want to come here and really what they choose to charge. We can certainly advocate for reaching out to those kinds of family-style restaurants, but really that's not really a city of Fitchburg kind of authority.
Well, I didn't mean it was an authority, but I say in advocating, like you said, advocating to try to reach out and maybe even call some businesses and say, would you like to set up here? Obviously we got to do something to bring more family-friendly businesses to the city, because people with a family of 4 now, you go to McDonald's, mother and father. I've talked to some families, they're talking like $75 for a sitting. Okay, that's at McDonald's. So, well, just a thought.
How are you going to beat McDonald's or Burger King?
Well,
I mean,
not for my daughter.
I mean, there are some less costly.
As long as they don't take away the lobster ravioli from
Right. There you go.
Lobster ravioli marsala.
El Bohio is really reasonably priced. And also for bringing families, we have the Putnam Street Lanes, the 2nd oldest candlepin bowling alley in the country. Yeah. I believe it is, and that is extremely affordable and great for families.
But a lot of people don't know that even still exists.
Well, if they're watching now, they know.
Now they do, yes.
Anything more on downtown Fitchburg? Good to move on? All right. While I'm sure all of you can point to certain areas of triumphs and failures of the city during the current administration's tenure, taken as a whole, the entire ball of wax, Is the city better off now than it was 8 years ago? First, please answer yes or no, then explain your perspective. As a whole, better off than 8 years ago? Stan.
I say no, and I'm explaining myself because when Mayor DiNatale took over, he seemed to be doing a great job. He was taking down buildings, and it looked like he was going to take down all the old buildings, which was a godsend because we had a lot of vacant buildings. And he started working on roads, like I said, Boulder Drive, Main Street, they were getting tended to. But then through his tenure, it seemed like it decreased. And I had noticed by going over the budget that through the years of his tenure, salaries were becoming exuberant. They were getting much higher, out of touch to normal citizens, and the streets were not being dealt with. The street lights aren't being dealt with. Like I said, I've got one on my street for 2 years. I've been making calls, and it's still not being fixed. So there's not enough response when people make complaints. And from what I found out, and I personally found out with this administration, if you make complaints that are valid, they don't want to hear it, okay? They kick you to the curb. You're just a complainer and a whiner. They don't want to hear complaints. I'm going to be transparent. I want to hear complaints, and I want to see how I can fix them for the citizens.
There is no one more open than this administration. I've been in public service for a number of years. No one's going to tell me that I'm not accessible, even though I'm not running for mayor of Facebook. Okay? So I don't know where you're getting that, Stan. All right?
Okay, let's.
All right, now.
Hold on. You had about 20 seconds left. Do you have anything else to say on?
Well, I was just going to ask him if he denies asking me
We
about...
can get in that in general discussions for direct interaction, but did you have anything else to say in your 20 seconds?
No.
No. Okay. Mayor DiNatale, you 2 minutes. Better off now than we were 8 years ago.
Certainly, absolutely. There's, I cited some of the figures that some of the advances we've made. You folks got to remember, the budget, 98% of the budget is non-discretionary, and you'll find that out if you're successful in your bid to become mayor. Non-discretionary, which means you can't decide one day I'm not going to pay it. It has to be paid, 98%. The remainder is taken up by things like the library, senior center, rec department, community development, facilities management, and veterans. So where are you going to cut? You're going to cut the veterans? You're going to cut the senior center? The library? Right. So this is what we're dealing with. Tax levy 2.5% comes up with about 1.5 million. All right? And the costs exceed it to 1.8 million. So we need to get that as well. We need to figure out where you're going to get that money. So, and there's been, over the years, a $1 million increase in health insurance on a regular basis. It's not something I created. It's something you have to deal with. All right, Fitchburg Public Schools, 51%. You cannot touch that. Employee benefits, 23%. You cannot touch that as well. You should know this, Stan. Police, 6.1%. Fire, Public Works, debt service, finance and administration, treasurer, trash recycling, Monty Tech. Okay? That's public schools, 51% of the total budget. So that should tell you something there.
Dr. Knight, is the city better off than it was 8 years ago, yes or no?
Thank you, Kevin, again. Absolutely not. The educational system in Fitchburg has declined from the time, I believe, Mr. DiNatale has been in power. His administration hired a superintendent paying him over $200,000 a year, more than our neighbor city of Leominster. And he's now gone, but he left the city He left the school system, which according to some private organization ranking 359 out of 395. That is horrible. I know all the fault is not right there to be blamed on the superintendent that left, because COVID had something to do with it. But also the salary that is being paid to some of the employees in the Fitchburg public school system, somebody need to watch over these things, because, you know, the people that really need to be able to get the incentive in their pay are the educators, the ones that are in the classroom working directly with the students. I'm not saying that others don't need to earn their salaries, but there need to, I mentioned balance before. You know, we need to pay more attention to what we're doing with the money. So Fitchburg, at least in the educational arena, it is definitely not doing better than what it was doing 8 years ago. The academic achievement gap is even wider than it was before. Now, as the mayor of Fitchburg, and with over 25 years of experience and with a doctorate degree in instruction and leadership, and with a current principal certification, I am in a position where I can assist the school system and work with the administration and be able to close that existing academic achievement gap, so Fitchburg public schools can be performing to the level that they're supposed to be. It's all about teaching and learning, and we need to do better. The city is not better off.
Councilor Squailia, as a whole, is the city of Fitchburg better off than it was 8 years ago?
I feel like it's kind of talking in hypotheticals. If the city is better off now than it was 8 years ago, what we could have done differently. So I don't really like to look at it like that. I like to believe that Fitchburg is better off now than we were 8 years ago, because 8 years ago we were still coming off of a large housing crisis. There was a great fiscal problem in the city of Fitchburg that our previous mayor righted the financial ship, and that took many years of hard work and fiscal clawback and difficult decisions that were made. And as a result, we're now kind of seeing we've been seeing a lot of fiscal growth since that point, from Mayor Lisa Wong's administration to today. And so I'd like to say that we are better off now than 8 years ago. Were there some decisions that I believe affected us fiscally? Some bad decisions? Yes, I do believe there were bad decisions made that will affect us fiscally for many years. I believe there was some poor budget planning. I believe there was some poor decisions made that will affect our future available funding for other projects for many decades to come. However, as a whole, the city of Fitchburg has, we have an increase in staff in the DPW. We have an increase in staff in the police, in the fire. We are doing a lot of good things here in Fitchburg, and I would hate to say that we are not doing well, because I think we are doing well, and we need to take that, capitalize on that positive investment that we have seen and run it forward to the future with energy and determination.
Okay, now open discussion.
Very astute of you, by the way, Councilor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I pay attention.
Can I rebut
Go right ahead.
Knight, please? These are some of the academic achievements for the Fitchburg Public Schools. Math scores have increased. ELA scores have declined. Science scores increased slightly. In 2018, 5 schools in Fitchburg were ranked in the bottom 10% of schools in the state. Now only 2 schools remain in the bottom 10%. The graduation rate in 2022 was 85.3%, probably one of the highest it's ever been. Continued accreditation in New England Association of Schools and Colleges, and Fitchburg High School was awarded that continued accreditation. Your comment about, Dr. Knight, your comment about rankings in the state of Massachusetts. The state does not rank schools in Massachusetts. All rankings are done through third parties, which may not be credible sources. You have to make sure that you're aware of that. So using that ranking system that you cited is not always accurate.
When we look at the MCAS results, the students are performing lower than they were before. So that's where
Not
what I'm
according
basing
to
it.
this, math scores have increased, ELA scores have declined, science scores have increased. Okay,
Disagree, sir. But
okay. That's what,
Where do you get your information, Mr. Mayor?
well, I get it from the school department.
From the school department?
Yeah.
You get your information?
Yes.
Well, School Digger, which is specifically...
And that's
a
one of those...
third party,
that
right?
That's right,
Right,
third party,
third
and they're
party.
not accurate.
But that's all they do, okay, is they follow schools.
Not accurate, Stan, that's
And-
it, bottom
well,
line.
I'm just saying what they state is that we're 315 out of 356 schools in the state.
Not true.
that's a different one.
It
but yes.
depends
it
on
depends
which
on
one
which
you want to
one you get.
listen to.
Well, yeah,
The
okay.
one that you're touting
Yeah.
or the one that we're touting. It depends on which one you want to listen to.
Okay.
Anyone else on are we better off than we were 8 years ago? No? Moving on? Okay. In the past, Fitchburg's economy thrived on our mills. It no longer does. What sector of the economy do you believe will drive Fitchburg's growth in the future, and what are your plans to help support it? Mayor.
The economic development, when we talk about housing and economic development, I think they go hand in hand. The advances that have been made at our airport, for instance, we now have a life flight helicopter that comes and goes from that airport. We're very, very close to initiating an anaerobic digestion facility, nothing like it in this region. Also, biodevelopment that's going on with the peptide development, which I met with this group last week, and they're very serious about going forward with that. So the biodevelopment, we've been cited as one of the premier biodevelopment areas, partly because of our vacant industrial space. So I think, did I answer the question?
I think you did.
You did. Thank you.
Very good. Dr. Knight.
Thank you so much once again, Kevin. In my research, I found out that Fitchburg is sitting on some aquifer, which is water that is running below the city. I was able to tap into some information that I believe years ago, a proposal was put forth to be able to bottle water and raise funds to be able to build the economy in Fitchburg. And I believe that this was turned down. I was not involved in politics. I'm new to politics, as I said. So some of the information, you know, when I go to different offices has been obscure, and I wasn't able to get to the information possible. But this is one of the areas that, you know, why not? Why not tap into this information and be able to bottle water if that's possible? I mean, I know, you know, there's going to be some research need to be done. Experts in the field need to come in, you know, step in and be able to make sure that this is safe and the water is pure for, you know, for it to be bottled and be able to be sold in the market. But that's one of the things that I will be looking at, in addition to other information that I, you know, gather as soon as I step into office and things are not kept hidden, so that I can find out exactly what needs to be done. That's all I need to say.
Councilor Squailia.
What sector of the economy will drive Fitchburg's future growth? So I feel like Fitchburg we are diverse in many ways. And I feel the same way that we are diverse in our economy, the sectors of our economy as well. You know, the current push in the state of Massachusetts is this biomedical industry, and I think that Fitchburg is perfectly well suited in the Central Mass region to capitalize on that with our lower cost of living compared to a lot of our eastern cities, yet our still accessible location and our available mill space and our available manufacturing facility opportunities. But again, I think the diversity of the sectors of the industries really is going to be the future of Fitchburg. We've been very successful and welcoming, I believe, largely to our cannabis growth manufacturing industries, which provides good paying jobs for residents and helps reuse our old mill buildings that otherwise would be difficult to repurpose for other uses. We have the education opportunity with Fitchburg State University, one of the city's largest employers. We have the cultural economy with Fitchburg's art community, which are bringing in new residents into the city, and these are the kind of residents that create small businesses and placemaking opportunities in the city of Fitchburg. And then we also have the opportunities for recreation. We have the Game On facility, which brings lots of people here. We have potential growth outreach for that, but also we've recently zoned some of our northern Fitchburg areas for other recreational opportunities that I think could help drive this economy and bring residents here that help also drive the economies of other accessory businesses.
Mr. Young.
Okay. Well, I agree with Sam on a lot of, and Dr. Knight on a lot of issues, but I think we are underutilizing Airport Road area. We have a train that goes in and out of our city. We could have a train stop right there. We should start utilizing some of the empty buildings on Airport Road. Try to attract some industry here, biomedical buildings or whatever we have to do to draw some industry here. We also have West Fitchburg, we have Route 2, entrance and exit. We're just not utilizing or bringing jobs into our city. We're not attracting new industry jobs. That's where people tend to want to work because they're more accessible than working in restaurants, working in shopping areas. We don't have those facilities so much in Fitchburg, so we need to start drawing some industry. And also, it was mentioned the marijuana facilities. Last I knew, we have like 19 of them in the city. Not all of them are 7 storefronts, but we also have distribution points. I just think we ought to start utilizing Airport Road with the train. We have it, it's right there. We ought to start utilizing it and attract some industry into Fitchburg. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have anything to add on the growing sectors of the economy in Fitchburg?
Just that, you know, I recently talked to a man who was extremely knowledgeable about trains and our train system, and he pushed with me for probably an hour the importance and the opportunity that Fitchburg has to connect with the train system, and how, you know, we really utilized the train system back in the early 1900s and 1800s to connect to this industry and the potential growth opportunity. And I had never really thought about that. So I think it's very interesting that you bring that up. Thank you.
We began the debate on this side of the room, so we'll end it on this side of the room. 3-minute closing statements, beginning with Councilor Squailia.
Well, all right. Are we at that time already? Thank you. So thank you to Flap TV and FATV for hosting this debate. Thank you to my fellow candidates here for attending, and thank you to the voters of Fitchburg for taking democracy in our city seriously and doing the work to choose the best mayor for the future of Fitchburg. I am Sam Squailia, and I will be that mayor. I have been the counselor who shows up to work, and I will be the mayor who shows up to work day in and day out to move this city into the future. Together, we'll bring a new energy, dedication, and transparency to the mayor's office. We'll work to streamline our business permitting process, ensuring that business investment without unnecessary obstacles. We need to stop saying that we're open for business and start taking the steps to make that a reality. We need to develop a pavement management plan, stop mismanaging the limited road resources that we do get, and maintain our roads efficiently and strategically through engineering best practices. We will have a mayor that is accessible to the people of Fitchburg with communication and an open door policy, one that answers your calls and returns them, and proactively reaches out to residents and businesses on important issues. When elected, fiscal responsibility and long-term planning will be our priority again. Fitchburg deserves an accountable and cooperative mayor who shows respect for every member of this community. It's time to not settle for the way that it's always been in Fitchburg. It's time to elect a leader with the energy, dedication, vision, and business experience to promote investment in Fitchburg to be a thriving and inviting place with a diversity of business and infrastructure, old and new, supported by our local economy and beyond, shaped by the education and the culture that we can provide right here. Let's make Fitchburg a place we are proud of. It just takes your vote on September 26th and November 7th with the candidate that you trust the most to have the energy and the commitment to lead us into the future and grow Fitchburg to its full potential. I'm Samantha Squailia. I am your candidate for mayor, but it's only together that we will move Fitchburg forward. Join us at elect-sam.com or call me anytime, 978-352-0310. Thank you.
Dr. Knight, your closing statement.
Thank you, Kevin. Fitchburg residents, thank you for listening to this debate. I hope this experience will help you decide to vote for the candidate that will transform our beloved city, rich in history and flourishing in arts from the beginning into a better Fitchburg. Sadly, but importantly, several critical issues require us to think immediately outside of the box for effective solutions for improvement. As a person of the people and not a politician, in my first term as mayor, I, Maritza, will have the energy to make positive changes so I am not tired as others may be, and I will utilize the expertise of a grant writer to tap into unused funds available in Washington to benefit our seniors, our children, residents, and also to address the issue of repairing our roads. Number two, with Fitchburg's extensive commercial spaces, as mayor, I will advocate for a more straightforward process for licensing businesses to make available for growth, creating jobs, and fostering an entrepreneurial environment in our city. Three, studies show that more students become more creative, better problem solvers, go to college, and have tremendous success when exposed to administrators and educators of color. So it is wrong to have 76% of students of color and less than 4% of educators and administrators representative of the population. Additionally, it is crucial that safety, the most important thing, is present in all our facilities. As mayor, chair of school committee, and with a doctorate in instructional leadership, I am well positioned to ensure the closure of the existing academic achievement gap. And we will take advantage of the golden opportunity to use the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education procedures to hire a permanent superintendent representative of the student body. We will also provide the necessary resources and ensure that highly qualified educators are retained and that all educators and students are given better working conditions to stimulate their creativity and improve teaching and learning. Fourth, we will advocate for more students representatives in our areas of city leadership, capitalizing on the diversity of their rich cultural traditions. So I encourage you all to register to vote this last week, and on September the 26th, vote for the candidate with vision and new energy. Vote for Dr. Maritza Knight for mayor. God bless the United States of America and the city of Fitchburg. Dios bendiga los Estados Unidos de América y a Fitchburg.
Mayor DiNatale, your closing statement.
Ladies and gentlemen, throughout my tenure, I've tirelessly championed the spirit and potential of Fitchburg. Together, let's continue building a city that not only honors our rich history, but eagerly embraces our promising future. For proven leadership, steadfast commitment, and bold decisions, I ask for your continued trust and your vote to keep Fitchburg moving forward on Tuesday, September 6th. Thank you.
Mr. Young.
Thank you. I appreciate you all having me here for this debate, and I thank you, citizens of Fitchburg. As we come to a close in this remarkable mayoral debate, I want to take a moment to express my sincere gratitude for your unwavering support in being here today. It is your passion, your dedication, and your unwavering belief in our beloved city that inspires me to strive for greatness. With my 3 decades of service as a police officer, I believe I'm the man for your job. Today I stand before you as a candidate who promises to bring about a new era of transparency and address the concerns of hardworking taxpayers. It is high time that we hold ourselves accountable for every dollar spent, ensuring that it is used wisely and effectively to benefit every citizen of Fitchburg. The state of our roads and infrastructure has long been a pressing issue, causing frustration and inconvenience for all of us. But fear not, for I pledge to tackle that problem head on. I will work tirelessly to mend our broken roads, bridges and sidewalks, ensuring safe passage for every resident of our great city. Moreover, revitalizing our downtown and creating a more business-friendly atmosphere is the utmost importance. We need to attract new enterprises, foster local entrepreneurship, and breathe new life into our city's beating heart. Together we'll transport Fitchburg into a dynamic hub of economic growth and opportunity for all. But let me assure you, my fellow citizens, that my commitment to you extends far beyond policies and infrastructure. It's about being accessible, responsive, and treating each and every one of you with the dignity and respect that you so-called deserve. I firmly believe that a true leader is not defined by their position, but by their ability to listen and connect to those they serve. If you are yearning for a fresh change, a departure from the status quo, then I am your candidate you've been waiting for. Together we can usher a new way of thinking, one that prioritizes your needs and aspirations, and one that empowers every resident to be an active participating in the future of our remarkable city. I thank you for this time, and God bless.
And that concludes this debate with the candidates for mayor of Fitchburg. I want to thank all 4 candidates for showing up and participating in this evening's debate. It's one thing to go out and get 50 signatures and get on a ballot, but it takes courage to show up and answer questions unknown and to face each other. And for that, it shows respect for the constituents, the voters, and you also help maintain the integrity of our democratic process. As a reminder, the preliminary election will be held on September 26, which will narrow this field of 4 candidates down to 2 candidates, who will then face each other in a one-on-one debate here on October 26th, with voters then making their final selection on November 7th. Thank you for tuning into this debate. On behalf of everyone here at Flap TV and FATV, be well.